masters of the universe.
Fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there.
What's up, comic collectors? How you doing today? This is Peter coming at you. I'm just going to talk about some crazy old shit. No, not me. Sorry. Although it is just almost younger than I am. But we're looking today at one of my favorites, one of your favorites, one that has really gone the test of time. We're looking at Transformers. So here on Comic Collector, guys, I just talk about whatever the fuck I want. Bottom line, I want to talk about Transformers, the impact it had on my life, how amazing it is. And to do that, we kind of go back to the beginning. Transformers is 40 years old this year, guys. 40 years. It started up in 1984. Now, we all know, I can go on and talk about all the history of it. So if you're learning about the Transformers for the first time, there's a ton more videos out there that are totally in depth with what there is and where they came from. Real quick, they were Japanese toys, Diaclone, and a couple other things that Hasbro kind of bought over from Japan and used to basically make their own toy line. They took it to Bob Budiansky at Marvel, who wrote all the backstories for all the characters we now love. And that's where it came from. Hasbro wanted to get a toy line out. Bottom line. So at that moment, we had the toys, we had Marvel Comics make their comics, and we have the cartoons, right? All three, I mean, the toys, they were the toys. Bottom line. Amazing toys. They transformed from robots to cars, from robots to guns, from robots to cassette players, from robots to airplanes. I mean, you get it all. So as a kid, you loved being able to transform them. You know, play with a jet, transform with a robot, fight another robot. What? Who wouldn't love that? And so that's kind of where love began, guys. I mean, I remember for the toy side of things, I have this memory of my first Transformer being Bumblebee. I have this memory of going into a store. It was like a toy store. It wasn't a Toys R Us. I don't know. I can be completely making this shit up. But it and picking up Bumblebee off the shelf, and that was my first Transformer. That was the one that started it all. Me and my friends, we would get all of our Transformers together as we got older and dump our giant bins out together. And I mean, they had a crap ton. I mean, you're talking toys that I didn't, especially as we were older, and they got them from their cousins, and we would just build these, I'd pick one, they'd pick one, you'd pick one, and then we'd go around and then we'd make these giant battles in the living room and transfer them. And, we'd spend hours just setting up. Something that I just don't know if it's done anymore, but we would spend hours setting up the toys to be able to play. And then we'd be transforming them, playing them, fighting, and, just all this stuff. And it would just be great. The memories of that aspect of Transformers in my life was so amazing. I can't really say more than that. And then from there, we had, I remember on my birthday when G2 came out. Okay, so I remember G2 coming out, and I got Long Haul by myself. I used my money, I bought Long Haul, and that was good. And so I wanted all the Devastator. I wanted all, and remember, if you remember G2 came out with just different colors. So I had yellow, and I know a lot of people are like, well, G2 orange. I actually don't remember seeing orange ever. But, again, I'm a kid. I mean, I'm 42, so now I don't really know. That was a long time ago. But I had yellow. So I had a yellow Long Haul, and I wanted all of Devastator. So the morning of my birthday, I woke up, and there was a box wrapped for me. And I remember opening it, and I was like, so excited. Well, lo and behold, it wasn't going to be Devastator. It would actually end up being G2 Bruticus, the entire thing of G2 Bruticus. So all 5 Combaticons I had. And that was the first time I'd ever had my own combiner. And being able to put them together and take them out of the packages. And it was one of the most amazing things to ever get in my childhood. The other big one that I loved was G2 Grimlock, the blue one, right? I loved the fun colors. Like, it was so cool. It was metallic fucking blue. Like, we went from metal to blue, and this year they are, from what I'm understanding, releasing using the Studio 86 series mold, a blue Grimlock. So I don't have any of the other Dinobots, which is good with me. Not really worried about that, but that is one that I might have to get just to get it. Is that G2 Grimlock. Transformers have stood the test of time. Going back all the way. So we had the toys, right? I had G2, and it's continued to grow in what I collect. But go back again. So we go back to the comics, back to the original comics. It was a 4-part miniseries, and that's all it was going to be. We know that these were made to sell toys. And so we had the Marvel comics. And when I was in high school, I was able to get, I think, between 60 and 70 of the original 1 through 80. And my goal was to finish off the whole thing 1 through 80. No matter what the grade was, I didn't care. Especially back in, when was I started collecting those in 98? I think 98. I think I was in high school when I started making the run through it and going to comic shows and digging through bins and finding what I couldn't. And so I had all of those, and I don't have any of them anymore. I got rid of them. I was quite sad. Moving to Colorado, I had to end up getting rid of a lot of stuff. Just didn't work out. But I do remember at one time, so back in the good old dial-up and eBay days, when all that stuff was first starting, I had bid on the entire run. Christmas morning, I had money, 1 through 80, and I bid on it. I won it. But at that time, the way it worked out, I never heard from the seller. So I didn't get it. That was, to me, a huge heartbreak. I wanted to have the whole set. I didn't get it. But, lo and behold, also back in the day, I bought the entire run on a CD that I could read on the computer. So I did read all 1 through 80. I've read it multiple times. And at the same time, when Marvel came out with it, there was UK Marvel. Okay, Marvel UK. And they had their own stuff. Well, they were releasing the Marvel USA stories as well, but they didn't end up, they were flipping them out more often than Marvel US and getting them over there and this and that. So they ended up having 306 comics compared to our 80. But here's the thing, guys. If you didn't know, they would break them up and put them in more stories in one comic. So one comic, the US one, I think ended up being like 2 or 3 of the UK ones, because they combine it with like their Action Force, I think, which is what their G.I. Joe was, or something like that. Spider-Man would be a half of an American comic. So then they'd also have their own stories that would be short stories, basically. Some really cool Dinobot ones in there, if you've never read it. Some really cool ones set with the 86 movie characters going back in time, Ultra Magnus, and Galvatron. And so you had Galvatron and Megatron there at the same time. Well, amazing stories. Which brought us back to Simon Furman, who was writing the UK ones. Well, we know that he took over writing the USA ones. I can't remember when. I can't tell you when. Guys, as a comic collector, I'm not a guy who's going to go down into the depth and do all this research. I'm just having fun talking the shit about Transformers today. So I did a little, that much research, more writing down what I remember and what I want to talk about. So that's kind of how things go. So I don't remember when he took over, but he did. He came over, he took over the stories, and that's kind of where we got the ending going up to 80. Some great stories, guys. So if you haven't read those as a Transformers fan, I definitely say pick them up. I know, skipping ahead a little bit in the comic way, Skybound is releasing, to my knowledge, I haven't been able to check to see if certain ones, but all 1 through 80 in a graphic novel form, omnibus. I think it's on Amazon for pre-order, but yeah, I'm trying to find out from a couple friends if the exclusive Marvel ones will be in there, like number 4 with Spider-Man, all the stories with Circuit Breaker. These are all Marvel-owned characters, and so we don't know if they're going to be in there until I think we officially see if they're going to be in there. So fingers crossed, guys. Hopefully it's there. Yeah, so on the comic side, we had that. Then we had G2. I remember the G2 comics. I had all of them, and that was like 1 through 12, guys. It didn't do a ton, but darker, grittier. I mean, you had scenes of, basically Optimus Prime melting down to bone structure. It was definitely 90s. They changed the colors, like we said. You had Sideswipe now was no longer a red. He was black. He had spiked wheels. He had a chain of guns. He's running with guns. I mean, you're talking straight out of the 90s. If it was 90s, that's how it was. If you remember comics in the 90s, that's definitely how the Transformers were at that time. And interestingly enough, side note, Megatron was brought back in G.I. Joe. So the Transformers comics had ended a while ago. G.I. Joe was still continuing to go in Marvel Comics. And that's where they brought back Megatron as a tank. Fun story. Again, if you guys haven't read them, you guys really have to. If you're a comic fan, a Transformers fan, go read those. So that ended, and it was quite a time before Transformers came back in comic. Well, I remember picking up Dreamwave comics. So Dreamwave was a series, amazing. They used the G1. They kind of started their own series, 6-part miniseries, and that's a whole other debacle of why they ended. Well, great story, fun artwork. That's kind of where we first got the idea of Ultra Magnus having armor and actually being a robot, Optimus Prime looking robot underneath. We had a lot of good stuff start from there, but there's a whole other debacle on the other side. If you really want to hear that, I'm sure there's enough out there for that, guys. I remember getting those, and then from there, they lost the license. So we had a couple years of nothing, and then IDW got the license. Man, IDW pumped the crazy out of the comics. I mean, you're talking, they did it for years. They had Simon Furman come back, and they went from there. He did the first 4 story arcs, I think, all 6 comics each. They had one-shots that tied in. They went back and looked at, the past, and then they rebooted, but didn't really reboot. They kind of restructured how the comics were. Megatron became a good guy, this and that. Fall of Cybertron, Cybertron's back. They're living on Cybertron. I mean, it's like, whoa. Early ones I really enjoyed. Mid were, later were pretty good. So there's a lot there. Again, some amazing comics. We now have moved over to Skybound, which is an Image affiliated company. They're really good. I would say definitely some amazing comics, amazing stories, amazing artwork. And so that's just the comics. So I've read almost, I would say almost, I don't know if every, but almost every comic from the original Marvel up to now. And that was, childhood. So the cartoon, okay? there's been a ton of different Transformers cartoons. Tons. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on of all the different Transformers cartoons. The two big ones for me were the original and Beast Wars. Two biggest ones in my life. And so that's put a lot into how I collect. So kind of the biggest thing for Transformers that I remember is the 86 movie. So when Kid Rhino came out and released VHS of certain episodes, I don't even know if it was Kid Rhino. It might have been whatever was before that. And they did the 86 movie. So I remember getting it somewhere there. It might have been 98, about that time. Might have been, I'm pretty sure I was in high school, but I remember putting on the movie, and I'd seen it a ton of times. It was one of those that you rented and rented and rented. Back in the day, guys, we had to go to video rental stores and get it. And we had to Be Kind, Rewind, and all that stuff. So I would use that. I did that. It's great. So I got it, and I remember watching it Christmas morning because I got it for Christmas in high school. And so we're sitting there, you know, my dad's chilling with me. He's doing something. My brother's playing a video game. My sister's in her room. And I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, we're at the end. We're not at the end, about the middle, when Spike and Bumblebee are blowing up Unicron. Now, everybody, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm thinking. And I'm sitting there watching, and all of a sudden, I hear, "Oh, shit! It didn't even leave a dent in it." And I was like, wait, what? And so, my mind blown. I didn't get to see it in the theater, guys. I was born in 82. So, when it came out in the theaters, you know, I was, what, 4. So, I didn't see it in the theaters. Hell, I was probably watching reruns anyway, most of the time. As I grew up, but I had to rewind it to make sure that my mind wasn't going crazy on me. You know, many years later, finding out that that was the original cut, that was the original word, that they had taken that out in the VHS release, and I think maybe the US release period. And so I remember that clear as day, watching that and hearing that for the first time. But that is what has influenced me and what I collect now. And I love everything from G1, but I can't have a ton of toys. I can't spend a ton of money. So I collect the Studio 86 characters, but only like the new ones. So I still need Springer. That one just got released. So I have, you know, Ultra Magnus, I have Blur, Cup, Hot Rod, RC, and I have a Spike that I say is Daniel in that mix-up. I have a Sharkticon, which they gave the name not quite a ways down in after the movie, but that's a different story altogether. I do have Scourge, I have Cyclonus, and I have Galvatron. So really the only one I need is Springer to finish off that collection. And then we go to Beast Wars. So Beast Wars cartoon, that's what brought us all kind of back in the 90s back to Transformers. And they made it different. These were animals, you know. I remember going to the toy store and seeing the toys and being like, "What? This is the coolest thing. Like, what? Oh my gosh." I remember the first one I got was Dinobot. And yeah, so guys, I'm working on my Maximal, my Predacon shelf. I have a good amount, not all of them, nothing, and I've gotten the new ones. I haven't gone back to get the old ones, but I do got the new ones, and guys, I love them. I mean, they have their faults, like any Transformer toy. You know, trying to make the T-Rex doesn't always stay together on Megatron. Primal, you know, my Rat Trap has a broken hip, so I can't really use it. I need to buy a new one, you know. So there's all these things, and they just keep going up in price, guys. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm paying how much for one toy? I mean, the Springer's $55. That's why I haven't bought it yet. He's not that big. He's not what 5 years ago would have been $55, but that's what they do now. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna throw in some extra crap." But again, I will get Springer. I will finish him off to finish off that that collection. But guys, that's 40 years of Transformers in a nutshell. It's been some crazy shit. We've seen way more cartoons come through than G1. I mean, just off the top of my head, after Beast Wars, we had Car Robots. You had what they call the Unicron trilogy, which in America is the trilogy, and Japan is not. And so you have those three series. You have all this new stuff. The Netflix shows that were, I don't think they were horrible. They weren't great, but they weren't horrible. Okay. You have all the new kids of Energon, Cyberverse. You had the new Robots in Disguise. You had Prime. They try to do the continue. I mean, so there's a ton out there to watch and learn about all those. So as I finish up, guys, I love Transformers. You know, I have toys, I have comics, I have little figurines. I haven't opened these ones yet. But I only got the Megatron and the Optimus. They do have, you know, Prime and a Bumblebee. I'd get Primal if they had Megatron on there in his T-Rex mode, but they don't. So I'm just, maybe they come out with it later and I find it. But the last thing that, you know, to kind of segue into the next video, the other thing turning 40 this year, guys, is Ninja Turtles. Hell yeah. So Hasbro teamed up and made a Transformer Ninja Turtle. You can't deny it. So if you're watching the YouTube video, I am going to show off what it looks like. Right now I have mine in RAF mode. So one of the fun things with this, guys, is you can actually change the head. So the head pops off just from the eyes. And you can see there's nothing there. And then on the back, you actually have the other heads hidden in there. So you can pick each out. Every weapon for every Ninja Turtle is on Party Wall Up. So you can literally have him do any weapons and anything. The belt buckle flips up and you can change the letter. Like, dude, so cool. So I will have it shown off in wagon mode next video. Next episode, we're going to be going and talking about my remembering of the quick past 40 years of Ninja Turtles, guys. So again, this is Peter coming at you for the Comic Collector, guys. I love collecting. I love toys. I love comics. I love cards. You name it, I probably got some of it. Little here, little there. So guys, enjoy. Leave comments, like, subscribe, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Keep collecting.